On January 15th, 1919, Boston's North End was hit by a jaw-dropping catastrophe. An enormous tank erupted, unleashing a tidal wave of molasses so fierce it crushed buildings, twisted train tracks, and swept people, and even horses, away in sheer chaos. 21 souls lost their lives, and 150 more were wounded in the sticky maelstrom. This is the gripping saga of the Great Molasses Flood, a harrowing tale of unchecked industrial ambition, catastrophic negligence, and lives torn apart that forever reshaped the safety standards in America. Welcome to Worldwide History. Today, we're plunging into the surreal, somber, and utterly unforgettable story of one of Boston's darkest and stickiest days. Boston, 1919. The North End is a vibrant working-class hub, home to Italian and Irish immigrants. Narrow streets pulse with life, children play, vendors call out, and workers labor along the waterfront. Ships, following 300-year-old routes from the Caribbean, deliver molasses to this bustling port. In late 1915, the United States Industrial Alcohol Company, or USIA, erects a massive steel tank at 520 Commercial Street, just below the North End Elevated Railway. Standing 50 feet tall and 90 feet wide, it holds 2.3 million gallons of molasses, a key ingredient for industrial alcohol used in World War I munitions, and less so for rum, as prohibition looms. The tank's strategic location allows molasses to be easily transferred to rail cars and shipped to USIA's Cambridge distillery. Built to meet wartime demand, the tank is a symbol of industrial ambition, but its construction is deeply flawed. Overseen by USIA's treasurer, Arthur P. Gell, who lacks engineering expertise, the tank is rushed into service. Its steel is too thin, its rivets too few, and it's never tested with water, a safety standard practice. On December 31st, 1915, the tank receives its first molasses shipment, filling to nearly 2 million gallons by 1916 as the U.S. edges towards World War I. The North End's largely Italian population faces barriers to political participation. Many are non-citizens, unable to protest the tank construction in their neighborhood. Their voices go unheard as USIA prioritizes profit over safety. Almost immediately, the tank leaks. Neighbors and workers report molasses seeping onto Commercial Street, an omen of trouble. Children scoop it up for sweets, while USIA paints the tank brown to hide the leaks. The structure groans under the molasses' weight, especially as temperatures fluctuate. Yet, the USIA ignores the warnings, driven by demand for munitions-grade alcohol. Tensions rise in 1916. On June 24th, police discover a bomb at the USIA's Brooklyn facility, prompting Gell to erect a fence around the Commercial Street tank. Shipments intensify after President Woodrow Wilson declares war on April 6, 1917, filling the tank repeatedly. In December 1918, after a riot by the International Workers of the World in North Square and a bomb explosion at the Salutation Street police station, Gell boosts police presence at the tank, fearing anarchist sabotage amid the Red Scare. But the real threat lies within the tank itself. January 15th, 1919 is unseasonably warm, with temperatures at 40 degrees Fahrenheit. Days earlier, a large molasses shipment from Puerto Rico brings the tank to its full 2.3 million gallon capacity, 13,000 tons of sticky liquid pressing against its fragile walls. At 12:40 p.m., disaster strikes. With a roar like a freight train, a tank bursts. A 25-foot-high tsunami of molasses explodes onto Commercial Street, demolishing tenements, a railway yard, and Fire Engine Company 31 station, killing firefighter George Leahy. Horses drown, their legs trapped. The waves crush everything in its path, flooding basements and coating North End in chaos. 10-year-old Maria D'Estasio is playing near the tank when the wave engulfs her. Martin Cloherty, 28, and his sister perish in their collapsed tenement. In all, 21 lives are lost: workers, children, passersby, mostly Italian and Irish immigrants. Another 150 are injured, battered by debris or suffocated in the molasses' grip. Property damage reaches $100 million in today's dollars. Rescue efforts begin immediately, but the molasses is a merciless foe. Thick and viscous, it hardens in the cold, trapping victims. Boston police, firefighters, and Red Cross volunteers use salt water from the harbor to dissolve it, spreading sand to absorb the residue. Cleanup takes weeks, and Boston's harbor runs brown for months. Hospitals overflow with survivors, suffering broken bones, cuts, and infections with molasses-filled wounds. Investigators find the tank's fatal flaws: thin steel, inadequate rivets, and no safety testing. The warm weather likely caused the molasses to expand, overwhelming the structure. The district attorney declares, "The evidence tends to show that the huge tank collapsed by reason of faulty construction, not because of an explosion," debunking the USIA's claim that Italian anarchists bombed the tank to protest big business and the war. The disaster sparks a historic legal battle: Doar versus the United States Industrial Alcohol, the largest class action lawsuit in Massachusetts history and one of the largest in the U.S. The Massachusetts Supreme Court consolidates 119 claims against the USIA, appointing an auditor to investigate. From 1920 to 1925, Judge Hugh Ogden oversees testimonies revealing USIA's negligence, ignored leaks, skipped inspections, and no permits. USIA's sabotage theory collapses under lack of evidence. In 1925, finally, Ogden rules against USIA, ordering them to pay about $628,000, around $11 million today. The verdict sets a precedent for corporate liability, holding companies accountable for negligence. The Great Molasses Flood transformed Boston and beyond. Massachusetts enacted stricter building codes, mandating engineer oversight and safety tests. Cities separate industrial and residential zones. The disaster's legacy endures, shaping corporate accountability laws. Today, the flood is Boston folklore, chronicled in books like Stephen Puglio's Dark Tide. Locals claim the North End still smells of molasses on warm days. Today, the Great Molasses Flood is a stark reminder of the costs of cutting corners. It's a story of loss, resilience, and reform. A chapter in Boston's history that teaches us to prioritize safety over profit. In 2019, a plaque was unveiled to honor the 21 victims, keeping their memories alive. Thank you for joining Worldwide History. Like, subscribe, and share to keep these stories alive. Until next time, let's learn from the past to build a safer future.